Jason Sobel is there. We have feet, we have troops on the ground, and he tweets this yesterday. He says, just took a quick spin around the country club. At first blush, place looks absolutely mint. Tons of risk-reward shots. Missing the wrong spot, and you're screwed. Going to be such a fun watch. So will this segment. The segment's going to be a tremendous watch because we had Jason Sobel here. We got Geoff Ulrich here doing that thing we like on a Tuesday. Jason, obviously, based off your tweet there and conversations you and I have had, you are there on the course. What are some other things that you have taken away from being there? Because talking with Geoff like yesterday, I've seen the videos, like that one that's gone viral of the 9th hole where if the ball lands in the wrong spot, it's rolling right off and into the water.
Yeah, so first of all, you read that tweet off. What you didn't read off was the direct message you sent me right afterwards saying, like, bro, you can't even come into the office and come hang out? I'm working here, man. Come on, I got a credential for the U.S. Open. You want me to come hang out at your headquarters?
Yeah,
no,
come on, dude. We have free snacks. What's going on?
Hey, how about a Fresca?
Okay, yeah, thanks.
Product placement there. Okay, look, this is like I said in that tweet, this thing is a great venue for the championship this week. Look, the rough is thick. It's not as long as we've seen in some other U.S. Opens, but it's just thick. It's going to sit down in this stuff if you miss the fairways. And quite frankly, the fairways are so fast and firm that you're going to miss. You're going to miss a lot of these fairways. Just even when you hit the fairway, the balls are just going to bounce off and go into the rough. So you've got to be a big, strong player to get it out of the rough. Look, the makeup, the prototypical U.S. Open champion used to be a Corey Pavin, a Lee Janzen, a Jim Furyk, a Graham McDowell, guys who hit it in the fairway, hit it on the greens, didn't make too many mistakes. That's changed over the last handful of years. We've seen Brooks Koepka twice, Dustin Johnson, Gary Woodland, Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm. What do they all have in common? They're all big, strong, athletic dudes. And so I do think that at just over 7,200 yards, the country club could bring a few more guys into play. It's not Torrey Pines like we saw last year. It's not that big of a ballpark, but I still think that, look, you're going to have to be firing on all aspects of your game this week because this is going to be a really fun event to be watching here at the country club.
All right, Geoff, so hearing that from Jason, who is there on the grounds at the country club, and based off the information you know about this course, remind me again, what kind of golf are you going to be targeting this week?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Jason's so right. It almost doesn't matter what like the course is, how long it is. It's just the way they set it up. It's just a prototype, man. There's a reason why Brooks Koepka just keeps top fiving in the U.S. Open every season. It's because he's strong and he can hit it out of the rough and he can get it up higher and he can hold the greens a little bit better. And he just likes these setups. So you don't want to dive too deep into this stuff and get yourself in knots. Like you should still be looking down the board, probably even at a guy like Dustin or Brooks, potentially just as like a top 10 bet. But the course setup is going to be a little bit different this year. It's a little bit shorter. It's a little bit, more target-esque golf than we've seen probably from some other U.S. Opens, especially from last year. I think that players like Patrick Cantlay, Daniel Berger, who have had some decent results in U.S. Opens, especially recently, Berger with the top 10 last year, I think they will be like helped by this setup. I think, Berger especially is a player who, has dominated some par 70s over his time. He's really consistent off the tee. He'll probably find a few more fairways than other people, even if it's rolling firm. And his approach game is just lights out. So if he brings that confidence from Muirfield here, I think Daniel Berger is a type of player who should be helped by the venue. He's going to have a shot anyways, because this has probably been his best major.
All right, Jason, what about last year's winner, Jon Rahm? So he's plus 1,200 to repeat as U.S. Open champion. Like, what are your thoughts on playing him this week and maybe sprinkling a little goodness on him?
Look, I don't hate Rahm. I've got him in my top 10 this week, but he's just been off just a little bit. When Jon Rahm's playing his best golf, he's as good, if not better, than everybody else in the world. His A game is fantastic. I just feel like it's been too much of that sort of B- game this year. And you look at the stats across the board and you go, I don't really want to totally fade him, but I just don't want to jump on Jon Rahm, especially at that number in the betting markets. If you want to play him for a top 10 this week, I'm okay with that. You want to throw him in some DFS lineups, I'm okay doing that. But I'm not going all in on Jon Rahm. I just feel like something's missing from that game. The putter hasn't been great this year, and so I'm staying away just a little bit.
All right, Geoff, but nobody's better off the tee than the reigning champ, and there's no event where that's more important, as you guys have discussed, than the U.S. Open.
That and again, I mean, I just think that Jon Rahm is probably more capable than anyone of getting it out of the rough than just in terms of strength. So Jon Rahm's just going to be a good U.S. Open player. I mean, look, if this number was plus 1,600, I would be jumping on him. I really would. It's plus 1,200 right now on DraftKings. It's not a big gap, but when you've got guys like Scheffler and Xander under him, it is kind of hard to jump on him at this number. I really do like him for DFS. I think a lot of people are just going to go with the hot hand from last week. I think Rahm, if you can get him like 5%, maybe even 10% lower than some of those other names, that's where I would get my exposure to Jon Rahm this week. You could also look to him for a top 5 bet. I think that's fine. But, unless you can get this number down before tee off to like a plus 1,600 range, I think that using Jon Rahm at DFS is probably my preferred venue. I do like him this week. I think he's going to be in contention. I think that his game, we're making a little bit, we just have such high expectations for Jon Rahm. So when he's a little bit off, it's like, what's going on? But he's won an event in 2022. He hasn't been that bad. I think that he probably comes back and at one of his favorite events and probably does really well. So I'm looking to him to have a good week, but not necessarily someone I'm going to add in my outright card unless we get a better number by Wednesday.
Yeah, and he struggled with his putting and chipping earlier in the season, but he seems to have fixed that really over his past like 4 events.
It's such a variable thing. Like around the green, he could just show up, and it's going to be just a difficult putting week for everyone. So
also leads the tour in strokes gained off the tee, which is also kind of important. But aside from him, guys, we obviously have a number of other big names like in this event at the top of the board. But who are some of the guys like maybe just south of the top tier who could have a good weekend? Maybe you have some high expectations for him, Jason.
Yeah, there are a lot of guys sort of in that second tier that I really like this week. I'll go working right down the board. Shane Lowry is a guy that has had a tremendous year so far. He's played 12 events, hasn't finished worse than 35th place. He's a guy that ball striking is solid. He's not the best ball striker in the world, but he's good enough, good around the green, soft hands, good putter. I mean, again, it's just sort of all facets of the game that you need. He was runner-up to Dustin Johnson at Oakmont back in 2016, so he's got some experience playing well and contending in a U.S. Open. Look at Daniel Berger, who you mentioned earlier, plays a lot of New England golf, actually hangs out here in the summers and works on his game. I think he's had this one circled on the calendar for a while now. Look at Max Homa. He's been a very sort of popular pick lately that, I think a lot of people are jumping on him. Won the Wells Fargo Championship just a month ago, and I see a lot of correlations between that one and this one. Just a tough, hard Northeast golf course where you've got to kind of plot your way and strategize your way around the course, and he obviously did that better than anybody else that week. Tony Finau did not play great golf after that win at the Northern Trust last year. 16 starts outside the top 5. He's now had 3 top 5s in his last 5 starts, including a runner-up this past weekend. Tony Finau getting hot. I've always liked him for a U.S. Open. This could be a good week for him. And I'll finish off this tier with Matt Fitzpatrick, who, of course, won the 2013 U.S. Amateur on this very golf course, plays his best golf when the winning score is closer in relation to par, likes tough golf courses. And I think he's playing maybe as good as just about anybody else in the world right now. He was first on the PGA Tour in strokes gained total for most of the season. He was overtaken this past weekend by Rory McIlroy, but still, Matt Fitzpatrick playing some great golf right now.
Yeah, and he won the 2013 U.S. Amateur. I believe that was played at the same venue. So, second tier plays, Geoff. Who stands out to you here?
Yeah, no, I mean, Jason did a good job running down. I mean, there's lots of guys in that range you should be looking at. I obviously like Berger. I already brought him up, but I'm going to go a little bit further down the board. And a couple guys, I can't really figure out why their price is big. And I think Tommy Fleetwood at plus 6,500 is where we'll start. I think that's a very good outright price. It's maybe as far down as I'd bet an outright this week, but I think Fleetwood is absolutely live to win this event. Again, a slightly shorter setup, but his proximity stats from 200 yards and in have been trending very well of late. We know what he did in the PGA Championship, top 5 there. So the player's just found his game again. He's being way more consistent off the tee. The iron game's coming back, and he's actually been elite around the greens and with the putter. We know Fleetwood's a great U.S. Open play. I don't mind it as a top 10 play, again, at plus 500. I just think his odds are just a little bit too big when you look at who's around. So that's a good bet for me. And then Aaron Wise, another guy I would look to for placing bets. I don't know what Aaron Wise needs to do to get some respect here. He just put through like a masterful performance at Muirfield, one of the toughest courses we see all year. He's still plus 100, just a top 40. Just a top 40. So the player is T23 at the PGA, came in runner-up at Muirfield, And you can get plus money on him just to top 40 this event. I would even look to him for the top 10 at plus 800. I think you just keep riding Aaron Wise. He's just a superb tee to green player right now, and he's found a lot of confidence. So keep riding those good odds on Wise. And Fleetwood, I think, is also undervalued. I like him more as an outright.
Yeah, Wise just switching to that broomstick putter, too. Geoff, good top 5 or top 10 bet you think makes sense this week? I know you just mentioned Rahm for top 5. Anybody else?
Yeah, for a top 5, I mean, again, some of the names I've already thrown out. Like, I think a guy like Daniel Berger is very set to kind of compete. So, looking to him for a top 10 or a top 5, a plus 330 is somewhere where I would go. But I think, again, looking down the odds, I mean, I would definitely look to like Fleetwood or Wise. I mean, those are probably my favorite top 10 bets from the perspective of just we're getting bigger odds. I mean, if you want a little bit of safety, I think Jon Rahm at plus 140 is fine. But I always prefer to kind of get a basket of bets in. And I think you go basket, you can get 2 guys with very good odds there in Fleetwood and Wise. You can balance your bets there. I think that's a good way to approach the top 10 market with a couple guys who in form, and form matters a big time for the U.S. Open, and especially with a guy like Fleetwood who's got a good U.S. Open record.
Jason, what top 5 or top 10 bets do you have in your basket?
Yeah, same as I mentioned earlier with Berger, Lowry, Fitz, Finau. So a lot of those same guys. If you want to chase some top 10s, I love what Geoff is saying about Aaron Wise. He's a guy that I essentially bet every week because he's undervalued consistently in the marketplace. I'm telling you guys, he's going to be a top 20 golfer in the world before too long, and he's going to win something big. I don't know that he can win a U.S. Open yet, but he's trending in that direction. A couple other names I'll give you for guys that I like for top 10s, maybe even top 5s, players that have been there before. Webb Simpson, a past U.S. Open champion, starting to play some better golf. I know it has been a great year for him, but he's over those injuries which hampered him at the beginning of the year. Sungjae Im is completely flying under the radar right now. 4 straight finishes of 21st or better. We know what kind of ball striker he is. And then, guys, when I was on the course yesterday, I started thinking about, what does it remind me of? And I started thinking back to Marion. Marion, of course, held this championship back in 2013. The guy who won that week just happened to shoot a 60 on Sunday. Probably should have, could have, would have been a 57. Made 3 bogeys in that 60. But Justin Rose is obviously playing some good golf right now. He should have some good vibes when he steps on this golf course thinking, hey, it's got a little bit of a reminder of Marion this week.
Wasn't it, was it Justin Rose too, Geoff, like over the weekend? Weren't we talking about him yesterday? He had like the 4 eagles and then like a couple of the bogeys there?
Yeah, that's what Jason just said. He just shot 60 last week. So.
Like, ridiculous.
I mean, look, if you're going by recent form, like as in the last event, I mean, it's hard to do better than Justin Rose for sure. So, yeah, I am kind of looking at this to play a little bit like Marion too. It's the shortest course we've probably seen in the U.S. Open setup for a while. So, I think it's going to bring like veterans like that and just give them a better shot for sure.
Jason, let's get you guys out of here with this. Who's going to take home the U.S. Open Championship in Brookline at the Country Club? First time this event has been held there since 1988.
I am going my favorite outright play this week, a guy who I mentioned earlier playing some great golf this year, and he's sort of due for another big win. Came in 3rd at the Masters. You know he can do it in a major championship. He's got a claret jug on the mantle still. Shane Lowry, and I'm telling you, Emerson, I don't know what the party is going to be like Sunday night in Boston if an Irishman wins the U.S. Open, but we're going out Sunday night, all right?
Hell
Shane
yeah.
Lowry wins this thing. We're going to party.
Yeah, we got Cleary's. We got a couple good spots here, Irish spots around downtown Boston for sure. Geoff, what do you like, man?
Well, I hope they serve Mai Tais in Boston as well. I'm going to go with Patrick Cantlay, who apparently is big into Mai Tais. Yeah, I think Cantlay is just overdue. And, like, the PGA Championship was obviously a write-off. But, the bounce back at the Memorial, I think that's really got to open your eyes. Everything was clicking. The putter was extremely confident. And, again, you look at setup. This is the exact kind of setup I'd like for Patrick Cantlay. Small greens, a little bit more placement and all-around, effort probably going to be required than just pure power. I think Cantlay, who was T15 at the U.S. Open, is just well overdue to do something. He's taken on the top players before and won. I think you got to roll with him, especially at plus 2,000. The best value for my bet, in the top 8 guys.